Hello, everybody. I'm so thankful to be here in front of you guys today. I just came in on a little bit of a tail-end story about what the young gentleman was saying before me, and that's just like an awesome testimony that you gave there, young man. I am also a believer in Jesus Christ, and I know that He is the head of everything that happens. And it's just awesome to come in and be able to hear that from somebody, because it seems like a lot of times when you talk about Jesus, people get, a little uncomfortable, at some times, especially if they're not believers. But it was good to be able to hear that we do have some believers in here, and to know that God can make anything possible. Nothing is impossible to Him. So I'm very thankful to be here today. My name is Monique Childs, and my husband back there is Derrick Childs, and we are from Cleveland, Ohio. We are the owners of Container Homes USA, and I'm here today to give you a little bit of a background on how our company started. Since everyone here is a part of my mini Casa, and you're giving us different types of feedbacks on how my mini Casa has changed your life, I want to give you a little bit of background information on how Container Homes USA is in the process of changing me and my husband's life, and a lot of people that are a part of our family. I'm going to kind of take it back to the beginning of when me and my husband met, us getting married, and us thinking that once we got married, that everything was going to be happily ever after. But as you know, obstacles do arise in life, and you have to have the skills to be able to navigate yourself through adversity when adversity happens. So once that devastating Hurricane 5 hit our life, we were able to, well, actually my husband was the starter of the company. It was his idea. Once that ideal manifests, which is Container Homes USA, it is something that is in the process of changing our lives. So I just want to go back to when me and my husband first met. I still remember that day like it was yesterday. It was 11 years ago. We went out, we actually met out hanging out with friends. He was with friends and I was with friends. And this is what he told me, I don't know how true it is. He told me that he noticed me from across the room, but that's a pickup line, so. So I don't know how true that aspect of it was, but this is what he told me. And it was like ever since that moment, when we met then 11 years ago, we became friends, nothing really serious in the beginning, talking off and on, nothing really major. And then I relocated to another state for a job opportunity, because I am a registered nurse. So in my career, I was doing a lot of traveling, doing different type of nursing opportunities across, the United States. So I was in actually Dearborn, Michigan on an assignment at a hospital in labor and delivery, which is my specialty. I was on an assignment there for maybe about 8 to 12 weeks. So I was relocated there in Dearborn, Michigan. I actually was working an off shift, which was a 3 to 11 shift. And that day earlier, I had got a call from my best friend that I've been friends with since like elementary school. And she was out on a date with a friend. And she was like, oh my God, Mimi, because Mimi is what everybody calls me, that's my nickname. She said, you're never gonna guess who is here. And I'm like, who? And my husband, which is Derrick, but we call him Q, that's his nickname. She was like, Q. I was like, oh my God, are you serious? She was like, yes, and he wants your number. Is it okay if I give it to him? I was like, sure, you can give it to him. So she gave him my phone number, and I was at work, so I really couldn't answer my phone because I'm on the floor. So when I got off work, I had like 9 messages from him. It was so funny because I didn't really get home till maybe about 12 or 1 o'clock at night, so I wasn't getting ready to call him then. So I listened to the message and I just went to sleep. So the next morning, of course, my phone is ringing and it's him. He's always been an early bird, but I was still asleep. But he called me, and ever since that moment, we've been together ever since. We just got each other. The relationship that we had from the beginning, it was always like, you know, we were best friends, but we of course was attracted to each other. So we always hung out and had great times together. And that was in 2008. And then in 2009, he proposed. And I have a funny story to tell you about that as well. We were actually at my parents' house, and it was after church, and we went over there for dinner. And I had no clue that that was gonna happen that day. But he went to my dad and asked my dad for my hand in marriage. And I was just like shocked. I was like, you know, who was expecting that? I didn't think that, you know, I was going to get proposed to that day. I wasn't prepared, you know, or anything like that. But he asked my dad for my hand in marriage, and I'm an only child. So I'm like, you know, I guess what they would say, a little bit spoiled because it's just me. And my dad is like, okay, are you sure you want to do that? Because you're taking on a huge responsibility. So once that happened and I accepted the proposal, we got married September the 12th of 2010. And that was really, I can say, was one of the most magical and happiest days of my life. The thing is, what came with that from my soon-to-be husband, I had 2 options. One was either a Cleveland Browns wedding or either Ohio State Buckeye wedding. Because at that time, even though the Browns were still sorry in 2010, my husband was still a big Cleveland Browns fan, and of course, he is a Buckeye fan because he went to the Ohio State University. So I had to go along with that option. I did not want to have a brown and orange wedding. So if you don't know, that's the Cleveland Browns colors. So I went with the Ohio State Buckeye, and we had an Ohio State Buckeye wedding, and it was awesome. And once that moment happened, it's like, okay, we're married now, everything's gonna be perfect, everything's gonna be happily ever after, we love each other, everything's gonna be great. But what I didn't know is that our happily ever after was not going to be happily ever after. On June 19th of 2013, and I practiced this at home and in a car, and I just want to let you guys know that this is very emotional for me. Excuse me. It's just hard, even now telling this story, but I'm going to do the best that I can. On June 19th of 2013, which was Father's Day, I was getting ready for church, and the next thing I know, I was on the ground. I tried to get up, but my left leg was completely numb, and I couldn't bear any weight on it. I was so scared, I didn't know what was going on. My husband just so happened to come back from church, because the house that we lived in, our church was conveniently Thank you so much. Our church is conveniently located right across the street from our house. So he was coming back, as he always normally does, to check on me, because I take forever to get dressed. And he came back to get me, and he came upstairs and he saw me on the floor. He's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know, I can't move and I can't walk." Then he picked me up, he carried me downstairs, and he rushed me to Cleveland Clinic, which you guys may have heard of. It's like a really big hospital. That's in Cleveland, Ohio, and other Cleveland clinics across the United States as well. He took me to the Cleveland Clinic emergency room, and it just so happened to be empty, which it never is. So that was my first sign of, okay, what's going on? Because you never go into the emergency room and there's nobody there. So it's like I got there and they wheeled me right back to the back, and I was confused on what was going on. So a doctor came in and he started asking me questions, and then he went out. And then 15 minutes later, another doctor came in to do a neurological test, which, I mean, I'm a registered nurse. I knew what a neurological test was. So he's going through the motions and he's asking me all of these questions. And he's like, you know, move your leg, and can you touch your nose? Can you do this? Can you do that? And he's going through each question, and to me, in my mind, I'm doing it. I'm moving my leg. I'm doing everything that he's asking me to do. So he walks out, and then once he walks out, my husband was like, your leg wasn't moving. I'm like, yes, it was. I was moving my leg. What are you talking about? I was doing a test. I was doing everything that they told me to do. The next thing I know, they took me back for a CT scan. And then after the CT scan, I was waiting downstairs, still in the emergency room, waiting to get my test results. And then the doctor came in and he gave me the worst news of my life, which was, your test results are showing signs for multiple sclerosis. That was just like a ton of bricks that fell on me. And even though this happened years ago, it's just still difficult for me to even tell the story. Because even when I was practicing and doing this speech last night, I still cried. And my husband was asleep, but I don't know. I'm still dealing with the pain of having this disease. It's just life-changing. So just excuse me for just the emotion, but I really just can't control it. So once they told me that I was being admitted into the hospital, they needed to do additional testing. I needed to get positive clarification, because just a CT scan does not give you a positive clarification of the diagnosis. You need to get either an MRI or a spinal tap. So I got the MRI the next day, and that was the confirmation that I actually did have multiple sclerosis. So I did have to go into getting a spinal tap done, which I was kind of happy about that, because those suck. So once I got the diagnosis of that, I was just like, what am I going to do you know, what is my life going to be up like now? How am I going to work? Because nursing is my lifelong dream. I've always wanted to do that since I was a kid. And just the thought of that being taken away from me, it was really, really hard. Really, really hard. Just the fear of the unknown. At first, everything was okay. I wasn't really having a lot of symptoms or not any relapses or anything from the disease. Even though I was having weakness on my left side, I was still able to walk. Then I gradually started to see the effects of MS. Every year the symptoms would increase. At first it was just one toe that was numb. Then it became 2. Then 2 became 3. Then 3 became 4. Now 4 became 5 on my left foot. At first it wasn't a cane. Then it was a cane sometimes. Then it became a cane all the time. Then the cane became a walker. So that's now what brings us to the birth of Container Homes USA. Container Home USA was born on February 4th, 2014. My husband was always a trendsetter, always a go-getter. And that's so funny that when we were at that meeting earlier at my mini Casa, one of the young gentlemen told me, "Oh, your husband is a go-getter." I'm like, yeah, everybody that meets him says that. Whatever he did or does in life, he always gives it 100%. If he washes the dishes, they're perfect. If he does the laundry, which he does all the time, and wash the dishes, he folds the laundry like it's in a professional department store. Like, he is such a good folder. I'm like really envious of that. Because I am not a good folder at all. See, that's that only child situation. I'm back to that. Because I never did my own laundry. When I grew up, everything was always done for me. I didn't have to do laundry. I really didn't have to make my bed. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to do any of that stuff because it was always done for me. So now with my husband, when I'm seeing him, I'm just like, wow, that makes me feel like growing back up with my grandmother when I was little, with her always cooking and cleaning and laundering and all of that stuff. So it doesn't really matter like what obstacle or what job that is in front of my husband. He always gives it 100%. He was always coming up with great business plans and great ideals, always wanting to be his own boss. He's just a natural born entrepreneur, always thinking outside the box and never not believing he could be the next big American dream. I'm not really sure where the actual concept of the shipping container came from. He told me that it came in a dream to him, or maybe it was something that he saw on TV. All I know is when he came up with the concept of making shipping containers into houses, I thought he was crazy. Because first of all, I'm thinking to myself, who wants to live in a shipping container? Like, what person would want to live in that? How would you make a shipping container into a home? And how would it be warm? How would you have electricity in it? Like, how would you convert a shipping container over to a home? But I guess my husband thought it was a great idea, and we kept talking about it more and more. And I still remember to this day, the first design that he did was on a piece of copier paper off of our copy machine. He did a little design on the piece of the copier paper and was like, this is what the shipping container is gonna look like. He designed everything out, the dimensions of the bathroom, the bedrooms, the whole concept of everything was first written down on a piece of blank copier paper from our copier machine. So that was officially Container Homes USA first design. That was done on the copier paper. But we kept talking about it more, and he was just like, baby, this is going to take us to the next level. I'm going to get us one built so you don't have to keep going up and down the stairs, because the house that we live in now is like a 3-level home with tons of stairs. And even though I can climb the stairs, it's still a little bit of a big deal for me to go up the steps. But I challenge myself all the time with my MS. I don't sit around and don't do stuff. I still do go to work. I know it seems like, how are you getting to work? But I still drive. I use my walker. I use my cane. I don't work in labor and delivery anymore because I can't do all of the standing and long hours. But I do home care, and I work for a program that's funded through the state that helps underprivileged women that are pregnant and low-income families. So I'm a case manager over that now, and that's what I do now, and I love working with that population of people. So it's really a rewarding thing for me that I can still work as a nurse and help people like I've always loved to do my whole life. So I'm happy about that aspect that I still can do. So going up the stairs is difficult, but I still do go up the stairs and challenge myself and work out 2 to 3 days a week at the gym. I'm there with my little walker. Everybody knows me. So that's something that, even though that I have MS, I still have to keep walking and moving and keeping my legs working so I can still have them working as much as I can. So my husband is just telling me, like, the house that he's gonna get built for me, everything's gonna be on one floor, everything's gonna be ADA, and then he's telling me that we're going to sell them to people all over the world. And I'm just like, okay. I'm just like, in the beginning, I just wasn't like all in on the container home concept at first. But then once time went on and I started understanding stuff more, especially about the green sustainability of the container homes and the energy sufficient aspect to them, then I started thinking like, oh yeah, this does kind of make sense. This would be something that would be real cool. So my husband is just telling me, this is going to take us to the next level. It's going to put us on a platform that will be life-changing. And you're going to be able to quit your job and to do what you love to do one day when this ideal catches on. So the next thing I know, we had that, everything that we had, we sold it for this company. So I'm just looking like, okay, I know he's gonna have to be doing all of this. So that was the next thing that happened for funding for Container Homes USA, because when we were talking to people about it, they just was looking at us like we were crazy, like how I was looking at my husband at first when he told me like he was crazy. So whenever we were bringing the concept to different people and different investors, about investing in the company, nobody really wanted to buy on it, because everybody was just like, oh, I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to work. They were kind of afraid of the investment. They wasn't really sure on what their ROI return was going to be on the investment. So everybody was just kind of like, I don't know if that's something that I would be interested in doing. But the whole time, we sold all of our rental property that we had. We had maybe about 4 or 5 different rental properties that we had. And when I really knew my husband was serious about Container Homes USA is when he started selling his cars. when he started to sell the toys, his cars, because he loves cars, and he had a nice little car collection. When he started selling that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is serious business. Especially when he sold his old school Cadillac, which was a car that was previously owned by, what's his name, honey? Art Modell, the owner of the Cleveland Browns. I don't even know how he even got this car. I just know he came home and he had the car. And I'm looking like, okay, where did that come from? He's like, honey, it was Art Modell's. I'm looking like, I don't care. You never even consulted me about this car. You just come home in a old school Cadillac, like so excited about, like he had did something for me,
That's the way we roll.
I see that's how you guys roll. You definitely do that. So once he sold that, I knew that he was like serious about the business. So we liquidated everything we had, and my husband started going down to the building department in Cleveland, Ohio, to start the legislation process to get container homes built. And it was, oh my God, it was such a frustrating process. You could just imagine going into a building department talking about building shipping container homes. They were like the same way I was when he first came up with the concept, looking like, why you want to do that? Like, why you want to build shipping containers into homes? So the people down there gave us such a hard time. And if anybody is here that is a builder, they know that nothing is happening unless you get the permit to build out of the building department. Nothing is happening. All your dreams that you think are getting ready to come true are not going to be a reality unless you get that building permit. So my husband went down there every single day with the people, meeting the people, meeting the supervisors, just anybody that was in the building department that was in charge of whatever department that we needed to help with get this approval through for shipping containers. He was going down there every single day with these people to the point that they had no other choice but to befriend him, like, hey, this dude is coming down here every day. Every single day, you want to go to do this, just everything that he could do. He would take in food, he would do whatever. And when you bring in food, you can always be friends with people through food. So once that happened and we finally got approved, I was just like, I could not believe that they finally gave us the permit. So actually, the legislation for container homes in the city of Cleveland, Ohio, that legislation was passed by my husband. With his persistent behavior, he got that law passed. So, out of the blue, we're so happy about that issue that went on with us getting the approval from the building department. Also, the mayor of Cleveland, Frank Jackson, we got our proclamation, is that what it's called?
Proclamation.
A proclamation. We got that award too from the mayor. We got that, and they had a ceremony for that for us too as well. And then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, the next thing I know is somebody from a magazine called U.S. Builder Review called my husband. And we like, what they calling us for? And they said that we were nominated for the Sustainable Green Builder of the Year Award for 2016 and 2017. And I'm like, how are we getting an award for a green building for containers and we just like got into doing the containers? I don't even know who nominated us, how they got our phone number. I have no idea how these people even located us, but they nominated us and they were like, well, we're not 100% sure that you're gonna win, but we're just letting you know, that you're in the process for, being the one to win the award. So to myself, I was thinking like, why would they pick us? I mean, we're just a small company, we're just getting started. We're not like a big time company, you know, what would make them pick us? But they kept calling and asking questions.